Okay, so what's going on, guys? Can you guys hear me? What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? Okay, so I've confirmed that my audio is working. Let's just get straight into the video. So in today's video, guys, or in this live stream, I'm basically just going to be doing my weekly analysis, forecasting the pairs that I'm looking to trade in this current week. And I have about 8 pairs, if I'm not mistaken. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I have about 8 pairs on my red list. There are potential setups that I'll be looking to capitalize on if price gets to my POI this current week. And I'm also going to be reanalyzing the market as the week progress. So some trades might develop over the course of the week that I might not cover in this live stream. So for you to be able to keep up with those trades that eventually develop, I will urge you to subscribe to my Telegram channel, and you just get to keep up with everything about me, not just my trades. Anything I see valuable that we provide some sort of value to you guys, I'll share it there in the channel. So without wasting much time, let's just go straight into the purpose of today's video. So basically, I'm going to start off with the very first pair I have right here that I'm looking to trade this current week, and it is Euro USD. I've had this pair since like last week or last 2 weeks on my radar. I think if you watch my last weekly forecast, you're going to see this pair in there. So it's been there, just that price has not gotten back to my entry point. So for now, it's still a trade I still very much worthy for me to execute once price comes back to my entry point. So firstly, it's just a very simple trading methodology that I use. So we had this break of structure to the downside right here. So let me give this a different color. A break of structure to the downside right here. Then we can see, I'll make this a bit thicker. You can see that price then broke structure to the upside. And now after breaking structure to the upside, you can see that price pulled down, pulled up, leaving this liquidity right here. So I'm just basically expecting price to induce this liquidity and expand to the upside. And now it's also backed up with some extra confluence, which is the 4 hour is bullish. So I'm expecting price to come out and take out this high right here. That high I need it to be taken out. So the 4 hour is bullish. And putting that into factor, it has to be a higher low. This could potentially be the higher low. Price could just from here and run out to the upside. But we never can tell. But I'm still anticipating that okay, probably price should just come back into the zone tag mean before running to the upside. Or price could still do otherwise and just take out this entirely. So whatever the market chooses to do, I'll just make do with it. Now you can also see on the daily too. We are also heavily bullish on the daily. So it's something I'll consider a very high probability setup, or a setup that fits my trading plan perfectly. So you can see that we are bullish on the daily time frame. So the daily is bullish, the 4 hour is bullish, the two major time frames are bullish, and there's liquidity right here. Expect price to sweep and tap into this KMR zone to run to the upside. Now on to the next setup that I have for this week. Now this is GBP USD. GBP USD, we can clearly see that GBP USD, the market is bearish on GBP USD. Sorry about that. The market is bearish on GBP USD. Price broke this low, and we can see that this is our lower low right here and this is our lower high. So expecting price to continue the bearish market structure and end up taking the low. And fortunately, the daily time frame and the 4 hour, they are both sharing similar structure. So on the 4 hour too, we are also bearish right here. Consider this a lower high and this a lower low. So the 4 hour and the daily are sharing the same structure. So to capitalize on the move to the downside, I saw my trading pattern right here, which is price broke structure to the upside, then ended up breaking structure to the downside. But before it broke structure here, you can see that price pulled up, pulled down, giving us this liquidity right here that I'm kind of expecting price to just induce the liquidity and we should run to the downside. But remember, the market could still do otherwise. So you just have to risk at least 1% of your account if you are just starting out, 0.5% to 1% of your account. Now, depending on where you are in your trading journey, that's what will determine your risk tolerance, which is another story for another day. Now, let's look at EuroGBP, which is the third pair I have on my watch list for this week. So, for EuroGBP, you can clearly see that we are bullish right here because price broke this initially, creating this lower low, but then price went on to break this lower high that it created right here. So after breaking that lower high, you can clearly see that okay, now this is a higher high. So the same scenario, what we're anticipating is price should pull back down and pull back up, continuing its bullish market structure. And on the daily also, we are also bullish. Yes, the main structure is bullish. Now there's a certain principle I go by while trading on the daily time frame on 4 hour, which I will reserve for a potential video when I'm recording and giving you guys an explanation on how I usually trade. So, but just using the main swing structure, you can see that this is the main swing structure right here. Let me get this to consider this is the main swing structure. Um, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high, higher low, then higher high. And our price has not broken above this high because I use break of structure with candle body for my confirmation. So if price has not broken structure with candle body, if it's just wicked it, I won't consider that to be a proper break of structure. So price has not broken above this high. So that's telling you that the market is still heavily bullish on the daily time frame. Now, with all of that put into consideration, as I went to look for my entry pattern, which you can see right here, price broke structure, sorry, swept liquidity in this case because it didn't break structure. Because remember, I told you guys, break of structure for me is when price has broken structure with a candle body and not weak. So basically, what the market did here is price swept liquidity. After sweeping liquidity, price then ran to the upside to break structure right here. Now, before breaking the structure, price pulled down, pulled up, giving me this in liquidity right here. I expect price to induce. Now you can see that price has already swept the liquidity, but price hasn't run to the upside yet. So there's still potential for price to still come back and tap this entry before eventually running to the upside. So now I can still also still consider this as liquidity, kind of something they call engineered liquidity, but not something I personally use while trading. But this is actually an engineered liquidity that you can potentially expect price to just sweep it and run to the upside. So that's for Euro GBP. Now the next pair I have on my watch list for this week, so this Euro AUD is actually a very, very interesting trade. So I took this trade last week on my account. I took it on my Maven trading account. If you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I'm trading two prop firms. So I took it on my Maven trading account and I also took it on my Naira trader account. But the market, not the market actually, I got stopped out on this trade because price got very, very close to my stop loss, but it didn't hit my stop loss. So I got stopped out on this trade due to spread and all of that. But it's still a very, very beautiful trade. And I posted on my Twitter that I just purchased an 800k account with Naira Trader. So I'm going to be executing this trade if the market just pulls back up to this entry point right here. I'm going to be executing it on the account. But for my 200k naira trader account and my Maven trading account, I'm not going to be executing it here because I've already banked a loss on it already. And if this trade eventually ends up ending as a loss, I won't want to be having two losses on one trade on one account. So for my 800k account I just purchased here, I have every I have every right to execute this trade on the accounts. So that's Euro AUD right here. But let me give you guys the breakdown of Euro AUD. Now, Euro AUD is actually a very, very interesting setup. And I'll explain why I executed a sell on Euro AUD, even though the market is still bullish on Euro AUD. Now, I executed a sell because, first of all, price swept liquidity. So it broke structure here, then it broke structure to the downside. Now, before breaking structure to the downside, we can see that price pulled up, pulled down, giving me this liquidity that I expect price to sweep. Now the market was bearish because after it broke the structure to the downside, it pulled back up, giving us our lower high. Then on the 4 hour, it broke structure to the downside again. Now there's a rule that I have while trading, which is we never can tell what the market is going to do when pulling back up. If my entry point is very close to the lower high, I will still take that trade because the market could just wick this, tap into this, and run to the other side, run to the downside. Sorry about that. So you never can tell if price is going to break structure or if it's going to just print a sweep of liquidity and run to the downside. So for that, I have every right to get engaged in the trade, even though that I run the high risk of the market switching bullish when it eventually wants to tag me in. But before price got to my entry point, the market was bearish. I don't know if you guys get me. So that was why I still have every right to get involved in this trade. And now for the daily time frame, the market is still bearish. So that's still like an added confluence that I can use in executing this trade. So you can see that on the daily time frame. Now the swing structure is bullish. Let me point that out. But the principle that I told you guys that I follow while trading, for me, if the market is currently bearish, which I will get to explain that principle sometime later. So price broke structure to the upside, broke structure to the downside, and you can see that these are lower high, these are lower low. Because now price weak here, and I told you guys that I only do break of structure with candle body and not weak. So the market is still heavily bearish right now on Euro AUD. So that's it for Euro AUD. Now the next setup I have, okay, for AUD card, it's not really a setup. It's not really a setup. So I'm going to have to close my pending orders that I set on this trade. And that's why you always have to like keep on checking your charts, not like you're obsessed with the charts, but you are prone to making an error because you are a human being. Yeah, there's no human that's above making an error. So this is not a trade for me that we execute. It's a low probability setup, and while trading prop firms, I'm not interested in taking low probability setups, even though they still also have a chance of playing out. But I'm interested in maximizing my wins on prop firms. So I'm interested in just taking high probability setup. And I'll explain to you guys why I consider this to be a low probability setup. Now it's a low probability setup because on the daily time frame we are bullish. But on the 4 hour right here, we are bearish. So there's a misalignment in both time frames. And I love when both the daily and the 4 hour are in tune with one another. So that's when if I now see a setup that is helping me to follow the trend of the daily and the 4 hour at the same time, I then consider that to be a high probability setup. So that's just the simple reason why I'm not going to be interested in 80 card. So I'm basically just going to take it off of my red list. Now to the next one. Okay, that's just it. I was actually surprised seeing Euro USD. So I've done Euro USD already. If you're just watching this live, which apparently there's just one person watching this live. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning into this live. I really appreciate you, wherever you are, because I don't know who's there. But yeah, that's just it for my weekly forecast. I don't know if the person has a question I'll just give like maybe 1 minute to see the person have a question to drop in the live chat. So I can probably just respond to the question. If not, I'll just be ending this live. So I highly doubt the person has a question. But yeah, that's it. See you guys in my next weekly forecast. Peace.